What is up, everybody? Welcome to the PGA DFS First Look Show for the 3M Open. I'm the host for the show, Jason Rouslin, or you can find me on Twitter at DFSGolfer23. And this week, I'm joined by one of my normal co-hosts, as the other one was high up in the sky right now. Vetri is traveling this week. And Geoff, it looks like you might be a little bit too, but I had to get you on. I couldn't do the show by myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I took the low-class budget. I just drove to where I was going, so I did it yesterday. So,
might be the safer way to do things right now, to be completely honest with you.
That's true. I'm not someone who likes to fly anyways. So, I mean, any excuse to not fly is good for Geoff.
Yeah, I totally understand about that. So we've got a lot to get to. There's a lot going on in the golf world. There's the 3M Open this week, which maybe we might get through a little bit quicker this week as there's probably not a ton of golfers that everybody wants to talk about. But hey, listen, we're still playing for big-time money. We got the Millionaire Maker still going on DraftKings. Maybe I'm a little upset about FanDuel posting contest size is not great. But we also got a third player involved here, SuperDraft, our sponsor of the show. Want to give a shout-out to them right off the bat. The future of daily fantasy sports has arrived. Experience SuperDraft exclusive game mode multiplier. Say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to line of freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want. Build your very own dream team. Countless lineup possibilities let you experience daily fantasy sports the way you want to. SuperDraft offering contests for PGA, NASCAR, MMA, and guess what? MLB is back this week. I know a bunch of MLB fans will be excited about that. So, perfect time to sign up for SuperDraft using the promo code Awesemo10. $10 free on your first deposit of 10 or more, and $20 total free on your first deposit of 100 or more. Download in the App Store or play at superdraft.io. SuperDraft, no limits, more winning. All right, let's go in and talk about Jon Rahm right off the bat. And I have a question in chat really quickly about why did FanDuel reduce their contest pricing so much. I'm honestly just going to quickly guess and say that they're nervous. They put out huge MLB contests, and if they end up not filling those, I don't know that they want to take a huge hit with golf or them thinking people won't go play golf again. So before we go into Jon Rahm, any thoughts on that, Geoff? Do you think that's what we have going on here?
Yeah, I think it's a non-Tiger week. It's, we got a couple of big golf events coming up, so it makes sense for them probably just to reduce a little bit. And then obviously, the start of MLB, you always kind of see that with golf when other sports starts, that the sites will take a little bit of a cautious approach. I'm not sure if it's warranted in this situation because golf is so hot right now, but it is what it is. Hopefully it's just a 1 week thing.
Yep, totally agree. All right, let's give Jon Rahm here. I know he's not in the field, but let's give him a couple of minutes because it was a super impressive performance. Muirfield Village did everything that we wanted it to in terms of the second week at the same course. It gave us some fantastic different views on how golf can be played. And Jon Rahm, to be honest, he weathered pretty much every storm that was thrown at him, including some silly things, which we'll get to in a little bit, of course. Yeah. All facets of his game were good, though. Strokes gained around the green was good. Strokes gained putting was good. The ball striking was great. So really good to see that. And then second, though, I want to bring up and then turn it over to you. We still saw that fiery passion, that Spanish passion that he's got that he prides himself on. I know that he was slamming his club on the 11th hole after a bad shot that he hit it in the water off the tee. But, I love that passion. That's one of the things that got me into Rahm to begin with. So, Geoff, how about you? What are your thoughts quickly on Rahm?
Yeah, no, man. I like it too. I like it to the point of I've always known the talent with Rahm is there. I have been one of those people in the past, though, people get really excited and then they want to bet him at low odds and they're like, oh, you got to play Rahm. I've always been one of those people who has been more cautious on him, especially with majors. I just, you realize that he's such a passionate guy that I just don't think he's one of these robots out there who's just going to automatically put it together. And he's going to miss some cuts. He's going to blow up sometimes. And I've always been like that, but I've really liked the progression. And I don't know. We'll talk about this more later, but I was really high on him coming into this week. I liked the way he started off the restart. He got a couple of starts in. He didn't look that great, but he was progressing. And, he's a little bit more mature now. And when I saw the odds pop up over 20 and his price on DK, I was really, really all in. And I agree. He just showed such goodness across the bag. It was a US Open winning performance. Let's be honest. I am so much more confident that Jon Rahm is going to win a major very soon after watching him win this week that, I will be considering betting him at 15-1 at Wingfoot or something like that. this is Brooks Koepka type of stuff. So
sure is.
It's all there for Jon Rahm. He's just got to keep that, that passion a little bit, built up.
A little bit in check. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't mind if it comes out because we saw it come out on 11, right? He slammed his club down. He got upset. Then he went out and he pitched out his third shot. He ended up making bogey. He took his medicine there. Yep. And he recovered for the most part. He recovered until we get into golf's silly rule. And this is our second topic here. And this one stings for a lot of different people and a lot of reasons. I'll go in first about the DFS side. Okay, so we'll talk about my lineup here in just a little bit. But Rahm's birdie into bogey cost, obviously, not only anybody that was holding Rahm, it cost them, of course, a bunch of points. And what that did was it moved me from 6th to 7th on FanDuel, so it cost me about $1,000 there. And it's not even the worst of the DFS side, though. There was a good story written today about Jason Sobel wrote about it. In the $20 final round showdown, the guy who was in first, the contest ended, the tournament ended. The guy who was in first had Rahm. The guy who was in second and third and fourth, the guy who was just in second, sorry. The guy who was in second didn't have Rahm. When they switched it from a birdie to a bogey, it moved the guy from first $200K to second $50K. Cost him $150,000. Plus, there's a bunch of other ones there. Fantasy golfers, I saw them up in third. They dropped all the way to fifth, a $20,000 swing on that. Just crazy how something like that can impact the DFS side and maybe even betting side if you had certain things like, Jon Rahm by a certain amount of points or winning score in the double digits, stuff like that could really screw it. What's your thought on just that part? And then we'll get to the actual logistics of the penalty. Yeah,
well, I definitely want to talk about the logistics too. But I mean, that part is, it's rough, especially because golf is one of those sports where it just doesn't, every once in a while you'll see a penalty, but you don't see something like that very often, especially with the top player in first. It's very reminiscent of like the Dustin Johnson thing at Oakmont where it's just, okay, now this penalty is going to be assessed. And it's like, okay, he gets a 2-shot penalty. So I know the matchup people who had like Rahm versus Palmer for round 4. I think a lot of people were peeved there because that definitely that lost the bet, right? So and then the DFS side, it's one of those things with golf where you just don't see it very often. It's not much, obviously nothing you can do about it, but it's kind of tilting when it does happen. It is one of those things with golf you got to realize there's going to be penalty strokes, but I can understand why people are a little furious. It's so inconsistent. So
that's the thing. It's so inconsistent, right? So first I'll talk about the penalty in and of itself. What it was, if people didn't see it, simply was Jon Rahm, when he put his club down on the ground before he was going to take his stance and his swing to check his lie, to see how his club would react putting the club on the ground, it semi-oscillated the ball, okay? I can see that from when you zoom in with a camera, you can tell that the ball moved a little bit. Now, I'm not going to disagree there, and I've talked to a few people on Twitter. I don't disagree that the ball moved. However, the rule states that you have to move the ball back into its original place if the ball moved. It was impossible because the ball never moved out of its place that it was holding in. It just oscillated a little bit from the grass being moved. Okay, so it shouldn't be a penalty. In my opinion, with the new rules that they put out, the new rule they put out was 20.2, and it states that you can't enforce a penalty based off of high definition stuff because a player may not feel it. A player may not see it, and that's exactly what happened here with Romp. Okay, so first off, I don't think it should be a penalty. Secondly, if it is a penalty, don't you think standing on 17T, Rahm's 9 under and Palmer's 7 under, it makes just a little bit of a difference? I mean, for me, it's crazy that you're going to call this penalty and you're not going to enforce it in play to have the play be affected by it at all. You're going to take it away after. I mean, standing in at 9 and 7 under, even if we go to the chip on 16, if Rahm's chip is for bogey and he goes to 9 under and Palmer's sitting there at 7 under with a birdie look, it's a big time different. It's big time different emotions, different psyche, instead of Jon Rahm being at 11 under now and Palmer staring at birdie. I just think the whole thing was ludicrous. And then to take it away afterwards, it makes absolutely no difference. Stupid all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, look, the way they did it, doing it after and not informing players, I don't even know how that can be like legal. I mean, you're basically just assessing it whenever you want. I mean, I don't, that's just ridiculous. And then the whole thing with me is this high definition TV stuff, man. Like they have to get rid of it. It's so ridiculous. You're telling me that they're only going to catch people when they're on TV? Like the whole field could be doing this. This probably happens, you know, like 5-10 times, like little oscillations like that, 5-10 times a tournament, but they're only catching the people who have the high definition TV on them. How can they possibly? How is that fair in any way?
It's not, I would say this week it probably happened 100 times with how long that rough was.
Wait till we get to Wingfoot. Like
there better be cameras on every hole if they want to do that. And I just think the whole thing was silly. The actual putting it out there, everything about it, I think is a little black mark on the PGA Tour here. I think they really got to clean that up. They got to protect the players. And I think Mark Hubbard came out, and Hubbard's a player we've talked about here a couple times on the show. He had a really funny tweet about it. It's actually probably not terribly kosher for this show for me to exactly say what he said, but he basically said the only thing that moved was a body part instead of the ball. So really funny. Go check it out. Homeless Hubs on Twitter. He made light of it. He played in the tournament, and he's siding here with John Rahman and no penalty. So I think we can move on because I could probably talk about it all day. But instead, I'd rather talk about the conditions, which probably affected that a little bit. But how great it was. For me, I love to see a difference in golf. And I know because I play it, I know how hard golf can be. And when you see these birdie fests, these guys are making it look super easy. It was not super easy last week. Tony Finau, in fact, played the last 27 holes at 10 over par. I mean, that's got to be pretty disturbing. Any other thoughts on the conditions for you? Did you like it, or are you a guy that likes the birdie fest? Like I see a couple of people in our chat, though.
No, man, I love the U.S. Open style. This was great. I love the last 2 weeks. I was skeptical of how this was going to go, if they were going to be able to present like a little bit different touch, but they really toughened it up for the Memorial, man. I mean, Jack is, you know, the PGA Tour needs to get Jack Nicklaus a little bit more involved here before he gets, you know, to an age where he can't really help out. Like he sets up Muirfield perfectly. I mean, I don't understand why they can't do that at more venues. Like let's get him involved and set up some tournaments and pick his mind. I mean, look how perfectly he does this every year. It's, you know, and now he hosted 2 events and they were different. I mean, it's amazing job by his course, his venue, in my opinion. So I really liked it. I thought this was a great 2-week stretch. I love those tough conditions though, man. Give me that any day over Birdie Fest. And so people like to see high scores sometimes. And I don't even who cares?
It doesn't faze me. I'd rather see these guys go out and battle it out and see something like a Matt Fitzpatrick go out and shoot 68 on Sunday and changes the course of his career, because that's exactly what he did. Now he's a full-time member. Let's talk about the Euros for a second, though. This is one note that I had. Matt Fitzpatrick, Matt Wallace, even Danny Willett, who blew up on the last 3 holes, Christian Benzenhout and Eric Van Rooyen, all 5 of them in the top 25. Guys that at times have struggled to compete on the PGA Tour just went in the strongest of fields and competed. What do you make of that? Do you think it was really course setup and these guys are used to playing tougher golf courses?
I don't know. I don't know if they're used to playing tougher golf courses. It could be. I think they're just, I just don't think that they're as brought up in the kind of PGA sort of like target golf birdie fest style that they're used to that. I just don't think that they see that many setups, and I don't think their games are built for that necessarily. I think they see more varied venues out on the European Tour where there's more links involved. And I think when you get to a tougher golf course like Memorial, it brings in more play. Even though it's not a link setup, it's got the thicker rough. You have approaches where you have to lay up and do crazy stuff. You know, you saw Phil putting into a green. You have to do stuff like that. And I just think the Euros are way better at it. And so I think they have better games for it. I think overall they're probably a lot better players than people realize. You know, we always say, oh, well, they're playing against weak fields, but they have more complete games. I just don't think they perform as well in some of those regular, like we saw at the Rocket Mortgage. I mean, I like Bezenhout there. He was terrible. Now he comes in here and he's just like, okay, now he's Bezenhout again. He's really good. So I think a lot of it has to do with the venue setup for sure. Yeah.
So one other note that I had from the Memorial before we move on, and here's a guy. He's my favorite, and my wife's favorite is Speed. But my favorite player is Cantley. It's been for quite a few years now. So when I say this, understand I'm not knocking him because he's literally my favorite player. But I can tell you, if there's any conditions that he struggles in, he really struggles in the wind. He's a high spin player, And I noticed just on the 2 win days when I was watching him play, his iron shots were going way offline, which is not something you see with Cantley. So I just wanted to bring that up. We always look for edges here, and we knew it was going to be windy. Now, did Cantley end up being a good play? He was okay, 9,800. He was still in the top 15 in points scored, maybe top 20. But going down to Romp was the better play there. Romp has shown that he can play in wins. He's won back-to-back Irish Opens, maybe 3 in a row. Now, I know they're not going to have it this year. So maybe just a little bit of looking at those type of angles, seeing that Cantley really does struggle in the wind. Just wanted to bring that up. Any other thoughts before we move on to our DFS review? In that realm of thinking, the Cantley can't play in the wind. Jordan Spieth actually had a good week because of tough conditions, that type of stuff. Right.
No, I mean, I think it's always interesting when you get different conditions and you see kind of, different players show up. But no, I think it's a good point made on Cantley. I mean, I think the other thing with Cantley is he probably still, suffering a little bit of competitive rust. So he played pretty good, but I just think the conditions definitely brought out like a different class of player this week, which is always interesting and something to know. Like you said, I mean, players you might typically write off in an event like this, you probably got to just maybe dive a little deeper and just check their course history at things like the tougher majors or just tougher venues. So,
yep, for sure. All right, let's head into our DFS review, our 4th topic here. I'll give Jordan a second to get it up. We're going to start off with just a quick review. I'm going to give you the top points and the top ownership guys, and then we'll do some reviews. So top points, Jon Rahm, 105.5, Matt Fitzpatrick and Ryan Palmer, 89. That just goes to show you, like we were talking about, only one guy over 100 points, only one guy over 90 points for that matter. Tony Finau, 84.5, Jason Day, 81, Mackenzie Hughes, 80, Henrik Norlander, 76, Xander Schauffele had a heck of a weekend, 74. And half, Patrick Reed and Kevin Na. There he is again. Kevin Na, if he plays all 4 days, there he is, 73.5. Then Billy Horschel and Siwoo came up, round out the top 10 at 70.5. In terms of ownership, not too much correlation. Obviously, the winner was 4th on the board, Jon Rahm at 20%. But other than that, the chalk kind of struggled outside of Xander. Abraham Ancer was up there. Cantley was up there as the top 2 owned. Neither of them scored in the top 10. Tiger Woods was 20% owned on his first week back. Daniel Berger was the big chalk miss this week. If you faded him, you probably did okay. Bryson DeChambeau also with that 10 blow up. He ended up missing the cut as well. So okay week for the chalk. I would say this is probably the worst week for the chalk we've had in a little bit of time. But obviously Jon Rahm being 20% winner. So still the field did okay in that regard, at least. And it seems like because of that, on the betting side, a lot of people did hit Jon Rahm, which is great, including you, Geoff. Nice hit on that. Love to see it. On the Millionaire Maker, this is the first time that I have been covering PGA DFS and the Millionaire Makers, which I'm going to say there's probably been like 20 or 25, that there's been a tie for first place with a different lineup. Crazy enough, it actually happened though. This Tifoin had 4 total entries. His one that won was 70% total ownership and 50,000 salary used. Had Rahm, Schauffele, Finau, Fitzpatrick, Day, and Steele. Pretty good one. And then the other guy, John Nya, 999, had 3 total entries, 79% total ownership, 50,000 used on the salary as well. Cantley, Rahm, Schauffele, Finau, Wallace, and Palmer. So one thing I had note about the first one, the total ownership was 70. No guy below 7,100. A really well-balanced line. It paid off that basically all of the 10K guys and more were terrible last week. But still, it goes to show why in some lineups you might want to do that, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. You cut out a little bit there for me. Sorry, my internet's a little shaky.
No, yeah, sorry. We're on Tifoin. Just mentioning how he had no guy over 10K, obviously, right, and no guy under 7K, so a really balanced lineup for him. Yeah, no, actually, and getting to that, I mean, I really like that build this week, and when we pick up my lineup, I mean, it'll actually look semi-similar to this. I actually had something really similar to this with a Day lineup. I just didn't go with Fitzpatrick this week, so I would have missed him anyways. And then Steele, I didn't really mix in either, but he was kind of on my short list. So I did have something similar. I like this build a lot. I mean, with Rahm and Schauffele in there, and even a guy like Brooks, I really felt like that was the range you had to pound. I know some people were higher on
Rory and things like that. But I just there was no way I wasn't going to take advantage. And Finau was another guy I know Saul and I brought up last week. Yep. I really like there, so I'm all about that. As far as like the chalk build, I mean, and again, I think some people might have talked themselves out of this build because obviously Rahm and Schauffele were going to be popular at that price. Everyone knew that, but again, even Finau like well under 15%. And Day, I mean, again, well under 10%. So you could still easily build under 70% total ownership lineups with that going like that. And that's why I like that. So
yeah, for sure. And I think it goes to some lineup construction when we have these majors and really, really tight or soft pricing with tight fields and strong fields. Make some lineups. If you're heavy on Rory or Dustin or the top guys, that's totally fine. And when we get into our pro review, you'll see a lot of the pros were heavy on those guys. But it goes to lineup construction where if all of them miss, you're going to be so far against the field because everybody's going to want to get a piece of them. Just goes to lineup construction. If you're doing 50 lineups, 20 lineups, make a couple like this in the balanced build so that if a favorite doesn't win, you're really ahead of the grade. So, all right, let's go into our pro review. And let's start off with Alex, and we're going to talk exactly about that. Alex took the route of going high with Justin Thomas at 29%, followed by Patrick Reed at 23%, Brooks Koepka at 23% as well, Bryson DeChambeau at 22%. So now two guys priced over 10K in his top leverage. Jason Day was number 5, so good call there. We just talked about Patrick Cantley, 19%, Ricky Fowler 15%, Justin Rose 15%, DJ and Rory 15%, while John Ron coming in at 10%. So obviously Alex took the 10K guys and above, wanted to get leverage on all of them. So he overplayed them versus Rahm. He had 3 missed cuts, 105 total golfers, and 5 above 20. I'm going to guess probably not Alex's best results, just looking at the golfers here and only having 10% on Rahm. Pretty standard of what we've seen Alex do over these last couple of weeks. Sad to see him, though. He had JT and Rahm last week, 1 and 2. I thought he was going to go back there this week, but I'm sure the ownership tag probably scared him off of Rahm a little bit.
Yeah, again, and then like most people, I think that's probably why when he was looking at it, he could probably, he put in about half of what his ownership was, which, probably, again, it wasn't like a straight up fade, but he wanted to go heavier on elsewhere, right? You obviously can't go heavy on anyone else. And look, I mean, I definitely think, again, he took advantage of Brooks. So again, he went a little bit Brooks over Rahm, which I mean, fine. Like those guys priced very similar. I don't have any I can see how he got there. Anyways, I like going overweight on Jason Day at that price. I think that was smart. His ownership again was coming in at 8, so he didn't even have to go that much. 20% Jason Day is like double the field, right, or whatever. So that makes a ton of sense. Going with the bounce back with Rose, I totally get.
Yep.
Rose obviously screwed people again, like just brutal. But again, he didn't have to go super overweight on Rose. 15%, that's fine, right? So the Ricky one. Again, I considered Ricky. I just could not get there because there were so many people just above him where, again, I'd rather just eat the chalk than have gone there. But again, Cantley, Thomas, I completely understand wanting to get, ownership on those guys. That makes sense. Again, going with the balanced approach this week was more risky, but I think there's so many salaries in there. I probably would have taken more advantage, but these all make pretty good sense. Like you said, this is what he's been doing kind of consistently. So, yeah.
For me, as you can see, I went Cantley up to the top. I just felt like the conditions were going to suit him because I thought it was going to be a harder course. And then when he threw in wind, it wasn't a smart play by me. I wish I'd gone down to more Rahm. As you can see, I only got Rahm in there 15%. But my core was a little bit better. I had Tiger in there who wasn't great. But then I had Ches Reavie and Brendan Steele, who 2 low-price guys that ended up inside the top 25, so that helped. I had Spieth at some pretty good leverage there as well, tied for 13th. So I ended up getting back. I still took a loss. I did just about 40 entries, and I think I had like 18 cash. So I'm getting closer to that 50% of my lineups cashing, which of course should earn a profit. I didn't turn a profit in this contest this week. I had 9 golfers over 20, only 2 miscut, and 51 total in my player pool. Let's move on to the guy that came in second in last week's Millionaire Maker. the human Cespedes or Justin McMahon, if you guys follow him on Twitter. And this week, we see that the bold approach of going overweight on golfers did not pay off for him. Daniel Berger was his top-owned guy at 66%, who doubled to miss the cut. Abe Answer, 65%. Lucas Glover, 50%. Cantley, 50%. Hovland, 50%. Gooch, 40%. Homa, 34%. Morikawa, 28%. 0% John Rahm. 6 guys, no, more than 6. He had like 10 over 20. I'm sorry about that. Couple missed the cut. So you can see the bold approach. I mean, last week he came in second. So, I think he came in 5th. So he's probably got, 20 or 30 more of these max entries that he can not cash one of them and he'll be fine. But still, it goes to show how this approach can really affect you if it doesn't go your way. Surprised to see him go 66% Berger in this strong field, or do you think it was a good play?
I mean, I didn't get the Berger love last week. I was really shocked when his ownership got up that high. But, for his price, I think people just saw under 9K, and this is Daniel Berger. He's playing so well. Let's not worry about the fact he hasn't played well at Memorial, or he's kind of been tearing apart easier courses and he hasn't played for a bit. I think that's fine. Like, I understand that approach. I just felt, again, it was the same thing with Ricky. I saw those names in the 9K range, and I'm like, I can't. I'm not going to go. I'm not even going to play Daniel Berger when I can just go with those dudes. So I get it. I think it was a week where you really needed to just take advantage of those guys being in the 9K range personally. But
yep.
And then Answer, like, I'm all about Abe Answer, but 8,500 again, like, he's just getting up there, right? And I'm kind of surprised people didn't catch on more to the fact that he ended that Travelers with a bit of a wrist issue. So that just didn't seem to get brought up last week. I don't know, maybe just people missed it. It could be. But he did, that did happen. So I was very cautious with Answer too. Those guys, I love the Glover play. I do love some things about this. I actually really like the Max Homa play going overweight there. I know it didn't work out, but I wasn't really on those guys. And at the same time, I do still like this approach that he makes. Like, I really do like kind of going with this for MMEs. It's way more volatile, but
yep.
You maybe don't have to go so heavy on like 5 or 6 players, but I like taking a couple players and going heavy on them. If it works out, you have so many shots at getting the top prize. And again, that's what we're talking about. Like
yep.
If you're playing these, you just should not care about bad weeks. You really want to give yourself as many shots at the top as possible. So I don't mind this approach at all. I'm not trying to diss him or anything like that. I'm just saying those players for me, not really on my card this week.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I find Abraham Answer and Matt Fitzpatrick similar type players, and maybe similar type people as well. I mean, they're both kind of short. They're both kind of short off the tee, but they're both very good in their short game. They both can get really hot with their irons. And maybe, in the head-to-head matchups, on easier courses, we take Answer, and in the harder courses, we take Fitzpatrick there. But just something I thought, $500 more. The thing that was most interesting to me about Justin's strategy this week was he took the high chalk of Answer and Berger and decided to overweight them instead of going to the pivots in Fitzpatrick or Patrick Reed. So that just interests me there. Last one about Brian, and then we'll actually go into Patrick Reed, that exact scenario again with Sal's lineup. But first, Brick 75, Brian Hooper, he went Justin Thomas, John Rahm last week as well. And he didn't do that again this week. He went Justin Thomas, Jason Day, which wasn't bad, but he can't fade Ricky Fowler. His Ricky Fowler syndrome is like Jordan Spieth syndrome for me. Now, I don't know if people call him out on it or not, but let me tell you, he plays Ricky Fowler just as much as I play Spieth. I'll have to talk to Brian about that because he can't fade him. Billy Horschel was a good play, 26%. John Rahm, he had 26% as well, so pretty good. Sergio Garcia ended up with a couple of eagles, I think, this week, so not a bad play. Bryson, Strowman, Poulter, and McIlroy there. No real surprises. 7 guys over 20, 3 missed cuts, and 75 golfers. With 26% Rahm, probably had an okay week in that contest. Maybe pushed a profit, but this is my strategy. I like exactly what he does. Maybe too many golfers for me. 75 is probably on the high side for me. But other than that, I love the way he builds it out. 6 or 7 guys over 20% with heavy on 2 of them. You agree there?
I do. I mean, I'm probably somewhere would fall more in between when I did it, but this is fine as well. I definitely like taking the 2 golfers and going, over 40 as well. And yeah, we can talk about players all we want, but just from a building standpoint, I do really like this for sure. Like the fact he went overweight on Jason Day too. That was I really felt like that was probably one of the better values out there. But yeah.
Especially at him at 8K, it ended up being a good play. So let's talk about a few more of those options. Absolutely. And let's review Sal's $200. I know Sal is not with us, but he's been kind enough to show us some maybe not so great lineups the past couple of weeks. So he built a good one here and had some good decisions to make and made the correct ones, which ended up getting him across the cash line. So we had Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm. You guys both were so heavy on Jon Rahm in the show last week. So good to see him show up in this lineup. Then he had the Patrick Reed versus Abraham Answer decision, and that ended up paying off tremendously for him as Answer didn't put up any points, and Patrick Reed had a fantastic Sunday. Really good decision there. And if he had just come off of Paul Casey and found somebody else, he could have definitely pushed up into the top 25. Harris English, Carlos Ortiz, both good across the cut. Well-balanced line, well under the 70% ownership. In fact, with Carlos Ortiz there, he really went against the grain at 1.4% owned. So really like that. Now, when we go to yours, Geoff, something pretty similar to what Sal did. We got in Jon Rahm, right? Just hold on one second. Jordan will be getting it up behind the glass here. I'm going to pull it up behind here for me too. There we go. Okay, so you were traveling, so you sent me on a picture on your phone. So if it looks a little stretched, just to understand why. And for mine, FanDuel lobby wasn't working when I was checking. So, anyways, you went Jon Rahm and Xander Schauffele, which we just talked about, and it looks like you also wanted to stack Brooks Koepka in there, going with 3 guys over 9K, and then Tony Finau. Really nice that you were heavy on him on the show, so you stuck to your gut. And then Shane Lowry. We were talking about this before the show. Missed the cut by 1 and missed 2 inside of 5 feet on those last 6 or 7 holes. This lineup could have been close to a winning lineup had he got through the cut.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was, I was high on all these guys, obviously. If you follow me on Twitter or anything like that, Rahm, Schauffele, Finau, all in my bets and stuff like that for the week. So I liked all these dudes. Like I said, I really liked the balanced approach this week. I just felt like you had to take advantage of it. And Lowry was a guy, I mean, I still, even though he missed the cut, I mean, I'm still very happy with the call I made. The dude was like top 20 in strokes gained tee to green after two rounds. He wasn't playing bad. He just could not sink a putt, regardless of how long it was. It's a shame because, and we talked about this, Jason, pre-show, but if he gets across the weekend, he is the type of player who can really thrive in those positions, as we saw with some of the other Euros. So it hurts kind of doubly. It's probably inside the top 10, this lineup. If he gets through. At the same time, I'm not gonna, hit the Jon Rahm bet. I hit like a Jason Day top 5. I had a good week, and let's be honest, I ran good with Xander Schauffele. When I woke up Thursday morning and I saw Schauffele was +6, I was like, how much more can I take of this? Like, come on, give me a break here. So I did run good with Schauffele, going 3 under on Friday, because I was certainly a dog to get him through at that point. So you take the good with the bad, but man, yeah, Shane Lowry, holy cow. Would have been nice if he had gotten through, so.
For sure, and speaking of the cut going to +3, that's a great segue into my lineup. And full candidness, full transparency, I missed the cash on DraftKings. I missed the 500 and the 200, so I've got nothing good to show anybody there, but I did have a good sweat for myself over on FanDuel in the $500 last week. I went into Sunday in 5th place with one of the only 6 of 6 on there. But my team on Sunday just couldn't come through. Brendan Todd, who squeaked through the cut line, had a fantastic Saturday, blew up on Sunday. Tony Finau's blow up on Sunday obviously cost me a lot. Happy with Spieth, especially at 4% ownership in that contest. I get tremendous leverage on him over there. Nobody wants to play him on FanDuel. It's nice because I know that in majors I'm getting him under 10% everywhere. But I will say, the rain delay happens. He comes out of the rain delay, makes a 20-footer, goes to 11, birdies 11, and he's at even par. Got a chance to get inside the top 10, then doubles 12. And where have we heard that before, right? We've heard that a couple of times in his career. So that kind of set him off. But he still had a chance on 18. He's got to make a 6-foot par putt. If he makes it, he comes in the top 10. He doesn't do it. It moves me down from 6th to 7th. And then the Jon Rahm bogey, moves me from 5th to 6th. And then the Jon Rahm birdie to bogey moves me from 6th to 7th. 2 silly things that happened, cost me some money. But other than that, it was a pretty good week. It was still a good lineup.
I really wish I could have found the nuts to play Jordan Spieth. I just couldn't after he He embarrassed me so much. But like I said, on that week, when I bring up Jordan Spieth, you fade him, and then you play him the week out. Like that, I just cannot get the guy right for my career. But I really kind of wanted to click him last week. I could not make myself do it. But he was a great play, and the tougher conditions, definitely, I agree. You know, they favor Spieth, I think, especially when he's playing. He is playing okay now. Like he's not. We can say that it's okay.
Yeah, he's playing okay. So tough conditions will definitely help him. When everybody else is making bogeys, if he makes one, he's not losing any to the field where he normally does. So all right, I think that's good on the Memorial. It was a great tournament, a different pace, and as we transition into this week, the 3M Open, it is definitely a big time change of pace yet again. And we've got some great golf coming up. I know FanDuel might have reduced their prizes, but we've got some really good golf coming up. We've got the FedEx St. Jude next week. And then the week after that, we get our first major of the 2020 season. So it's a great time to join Awesemo. Of course, we've got MLB coming back. We're giving away 2 MLB monthly passes right now. Go out and check our Awesemo_com Twitter handle and like the tweet, and you'll be entered to win. So pretty easy one there. Of course, join our golf site, $8.95 for the week. You get everything behind the paywall for that. So get on the DFS golf course today. And as we open up with the 3M, I think there's nothing better to start off with than everybody's favorite Euro, the most lovable of them all, Tommy Fleetwood. His return to golf is finally back. He's taken a lot of criticism from Rory over the last month or two, kind of failing to play. Has he picked up a club? What do we expect out of him this week?
I don't know. I mean, it's up for debate. He's obviously been very, kind of had his stance. He's just going to take some time off, see how it goes, et cetera. And now he's back all of a sudden, and he's playing against guys who've been playing for 6 or 7 weeks in a high pressure environment, although he's come back against a really weak field. So, maybe it's one of those things where just, the freedom and just playing for the first time, maybe, and in a weaker field event, it really pays off for him. Who knows? But I don't know how you can trust anything kind of with him. It seems like a tough go to just come back and throw yourself into competition. And that really goes for the next 3 weeks. I mean, he's got a weak field at least to shake some rust off here, but then he's got a WGC and a major. So I don't know what to expect to Tommy. I like him. Obviously, everyone likes him. I'm going to keep an open mind, but as far as this week, I'm just going to pretend he's not in the field, to be honest. So
yeah, we get golfers talk all the time about trying to what's the word they use? They're trying to prepare themselves to get into good form. They're trying to work themselves to a level of high competition. And with the PGA Championship coming in 3 weeks, and every golfer wants to win a major. Of course, when they get to Tommy Fleetwood's part in his career, where he doesn't have to worry about status or anything like that. They're trying to get themselves into shape. So does that mean he comes out and wins this week? Yeah, well, probably not, because his idea of the whole time was, I need to get back into competition. Then I get the FedEx St. Jude where I know I'm going to get a guaranteed 4 rounds. Then I need to be ready for the PGA Championship. So $10,500 on DraftKings, maybe a little pricey, but with this week field, it's Puerto Rico Light and the Puerto Rico Open Light. And if he was in the Puerto Rico Open, I think you and I, at 10,500, you and I would be jumping to play him. So I guess we're going to take that into consideration a little bit.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the price and stuff is cool. And obviously the field is weaker. Again, I mean, for me, I'm just going to take the approach, like you said, that I'll probably just, pretend that he's getting himself into shape here. But it's good. He makes this tournament a lot more interesting at the very least. I mean, seeing how he does. Yeah. And come out, because I mean, getting an informed Tommy Fleetwood for the major season here would be cool. So,
totally agree. DJ and Brooks and Finau are the other 4 headliners. So let's learn a little bit about TPC Twin Cities and the 3M Open. TPC Twin Cities is where they're playing. It is designed by Arnold Palmer with a little bit of input from Tom Lehman over the last couple of years, who is in the field for this week for that reason. It's par 71, 7,500 yards. 27 water hazards, a lot of water hazards in play, 72 bunkers. Green size, they're about 40% bigger than last week. So that's going to make greens in regulation very high, 74%, one of the easiest on tour to hit last year. Also, some of the easiest fairways to hit, 66%, and driving distance was over 300 yards per drive. So a really easy driving course, really easy greens in regulation. Kind of reminds me of Detroit Golf Club, which we just played 2 weeks ago, in terms of statistically how it sets up. Obviously every golf course is different, but statistically, we saw Matt Wolff win here last year and come in second at the Detroit Golf Club. So maybe some similarities there. Do you kind of see that same crossover as well?
Yeah, no, for sure. Obviously with Matt Wolff doing well at both, Sam Burns crossover becomes, easier to make, but yeah. It's true. These are some like easy to hit fairways. They're big. The driving distance at this venue, just like at the Rocket Mortgage, was up over field average last year, over the tour average last year. Like I think the players were averaging over 300 yards per drive at this event.
Yep.
Easy to hit fairways, easier to hit greens, I believe. So I'm not sure about the greens actually. For the fairways, for sure, were easier to hit. So
yep.
This was kind of like a place where guys could just come out and bomb it a little bit off the tee, and we saw that. With that, it seemed to give confidence to some of the ball strikers who just sometimes struggle with on the green stuff. But a lot of people just, we got Ortiz, but Morikawa obviously came out here, and Bryson, and they just came out here and just fired at these greens all day. So. Very much expecting the weather could be a little bit more of a factor this year. That's an early forecast for me. It doesn't look horrible or anything, but the wind could. This is a little bit of an open course. So, and there is water. So if the wind does get up, it could keep the scoring down. That's about the only thing, though, I think that'll keep players from kind of making this a birdie fest again. Yeah,
I totally agree. In terms of the greens, 74%. So really, really, really easy to hit greens. In terms of the water coming into play, I can tell you that definitely comes into play on the second hole. There were 9 double bogeys or worse and 26 doubles. So 37 double bogeys or worse. The 9th hole had 31 double bogeys or worse. So plenty of water coming into play, no doubt about it. It's really the only protection the course has, though. Minus 21, Matt Wolff won at last year. Wolff did it on his approaches, and so did Morikawa, obviously. So really, when you look at the top 10 from last year, everybody was good gaining on their approaches. Only one guy, Sam Burns, gained more on his off the tee than he did on his approaches in the top 10 last year. So want to look at people that are getting hot there and maybe can drive the ball a long way. Yeah, if you can drive the ball a long way and your irons are hot, you just need the putter to kind of follow along. And you should be in good shape here. So as we move on to our top betting options for the week, our first clicks. And hey, we did pretty good last week. You guys nailed Romp. Finau was in there. I even had Jordan Spieth as a top 20 bet, which was a decent payout. Not great. I wish he had snuck in that top 10. It would be even better. This week, I'm going back to, and maybe I'll get ridiculed for this, but Will Gordon at 70-1. It doesn't seem that bad. The top 10 is 7-1. With this field, we've had Brendan Todd leave the field. We've had a couple of other good players. I think Will Gordon could be primed for another good start. I know he didn't play good at the Rocket Mortgage, but he was coming off his, obviously, a career-defining moment at the Travelers. So I'm going back to Gordon, 70-1. How about you, Geoff?
That's an interesting call. I did give him a little bit of a look, especially with considering, again, we're just talking about synergy here stuff. It's nothing like really concrete, but look at what the young players did to this course last year. Something about this probably gave them a little bit confidence. Maybe he just plays more like a college course. I have no idea, but it's definitely something to think about. Will Gordon has kind of been on a semi little run, just like Wolff was coming into last year. So I don't hate that at all. I did go to Sam Burns was my first kind of click at 50-1. Again, I've kind of had this. I actually thought, I was looking ahead like last week, and I'm thinking, what kind of, again, who might win, who might show up in the next couple events. And I just kind of had Burns circled for this. He's a really good par 5 scorer. His irons can be hit or miss is the only thing, but he was really good with them in his last start. And he's a really good par 5 scorer. Obviously there's a lot of those out there, but I think what he's done at Birdie Fest, he's really done really well at the American Express, a couple other sort of low scoring events like that. I think this is just going to suit him just fine. Obviously he's top 10 here last year, but I think Sam Burns is kind of an underrated young player. And I think this is the type of venue where if he does kind of pop off, this will be it. So,
yeah, and very interesting. Along the exact same lines, Sal took Doc Redman at 50-1, right. So same price. And then threw out Max Homa at 90-1. Obviously, Homa's on a streak of back-to-back missed cuts, but those missed cuts aren't typical missed cuts. They were missed on the number. They were missed because of something that happened on 18. So I don't mind that 90-1 and 50-1 there. So now, as we move into our top 20 values, Sal, since we're on the path, he passed over Chesson Hadley and Cameron Chingale. I looked at Will Gordon, 3.35 to 1. I think that's a really good price for him. You look at the Puerto Rico Open, he was able to nail the top 10 there. The other one I'm going to, if he doesn't make this cut, then I think he's probably in trouble for getting onto the PGA Tour anytime soon. But at 11 to 1 in the top 20, is it time for Sahith Theegala to make a cut and maybe do anything? I mean, this guy won every college award last year.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's someone I'm going to be spending a little bit of time on, but I don't mind that at all.
Money, yeah. In money too, right?
Yeah. So he was a better college player than Will Gordon. I mean, he was right up there. So he can get it done. It's just a matter of, obviously putting it all together. But this is the type of field shaping up where, you want to take a shot on a guy like that. So I definitely don't mind that. I probably will burn a little bit of cash there as well because I already had that in my mind. So just hearing it again will reinforce it. I kind of liked a couple dudes. I'm not sure about Aaron Wise. I might go back there, but I think
price seemed short for him, didn't it? I mean, I know he's a good player, but it's 4 to 1. I think was the top 20 number.
Yeah, I don't love it. Again, if you're only getting like 4 to 1, so. I was more inclined to go down to I like the top 20 odds on Werenski. They're not huge or anything like that, but I think I would rather go to Richie Werenski and just take a little bit less. He's been playing really well. The approach has been coming in, and again, these weaker field events, Werenski has really thrived in them over his career. So the consistency there, tee to green, and then if I'm going to take a shot with a player deeper on, I think I'm probably going to go with Cam Davis.
Okay.
Who like early in the year was super consistent. He's really missed a couple cuts just on the number. It's not like he's playing bad. He
is the content machine. This guy. I mean, I have my first my opening tee podcast. I go over this stuff, and he is on it every single week. It's unbelievable. I absolutely love it. I can't get over it. So I hope he gets through the cut this week, though. I think it's time for him to finally make one.
Hopefully, yeah. Then this is a good synergy that I'm bringing him up. But I do like that for a top 20 because if he gets through the cut, I mean, he could easily go like just throw in a 64 or something on the weekend. So I like that going for, and I do like the Theegala call as well.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a tournament where these guys can compete. I mean. The other one that I looked at, honestly, if you think Tommy Fleetwood is in somewhat good form, like decent form, even like maybe 80% of his normal form, he's plus money on the top 20 side. So,
right.
Something to think about there.
Yep.
Okay, so let's move on to our DFS first reactions. As the pricing just came out for both sides. Before I came on, I believe FanDuel just had released theirs, correct? If I'm not mistaken. Yep, they did. And DraftKings obviously came out with theirs. But before we even go into the salary dumps and pumps, I want to say that a couple of guys have withdrawn that were printed in the field. Brendan Todd is one of them at 8,300. Jason Kokrak at 7,200. Grayson Murray at 6,500. And Chris Couch at 6,000. All are not playing, but are all listed in the field. You hate to see that when that happens, but there's nothing that we can do about it. They were kind of late withdrawals, so to speak, and DraftKings has been trying to get us pricing earlier. So it's going to affect the field a little bit, but wanted to at least bring that up. Now, in terms of salary dumps and pumps, first off, there were no dumps. No golfer in this field is less expensive than they were last week. Goes to show you how weak the field are. In terms of salary bumps, man, some crazy stuff. Watson and Finau are $2,600 more. Norlander, Wolf, $2,300 more. Casey, $2,200 coming off a missed cut. Kepka, hurt knee, $2,100 more. Eric Van Rooyen, top 25, he's all of a sudden $2,200 more. Or $1,800 more. Sorry, Harris English, Siwoo Kim, Patrick Rogers. Some of your favorite, Patrick Rogers, $1,400 more this week. Are you going to play him again because of that, or is it kind of sticker? We still have him? Oh, yeah, we got you.
I think I kind of.
Yeah, we got you back though.
Okay, good. I think I kind of burned through my Patrick Rogers goodwill by putting him in that lineup and him coming through. So I'm not going to push my luck by paying up from $1,400 on a course with so much water. His irons are still kind of hit or miss. So the other one dude you don't have in there too, or we didn't mention, is Henley, who went from he's like up 2K as well. He's at 9,200. He was like 71
7,200. That's right. Yeah, I didn't go back to the work day. I should have gone back to the work day.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I was just bringing it up because that was one of the biggest ones I noticed too.
Yeah, $2,000 more. And granted, he played awesome at the Memorial. So definitely some interesting there. All right, let's go over Paul Casey for a minute. He's the only one I don't think we've talked about up top. Actually, Finau as well. So first, Paul Casey missing the cut, but it wasn't your typical missed cut. He had a quintuple bogey, or maybe even 5 over, whatever 5 over is. I think that's a quintuple bogey on the par 312. But his shot tracker is something of pure gold. He hit it in the back bunker, then must have shanked it out of the back bunker to the left rough. Then from the left rough, put it in the water. It's fantastic. It really is. Do you just throw that out because literally it was one hole that caused him to miss the cut? And he missed an 11-footer on birdie to miss the cut on 18.
Yeah. I don't know what else you would do. I would definitely just throw that out.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure if I want to play him this week, but if people just have a bad taste in their mouth with him right now. So, his ownership isn't going to be up there a ton. Yeah, but as far as what you do, though, you throw it out. I mean, look, he bladed a chip shot, a bunker shot, and it led to catastrophe. He was playing fine. Like, he was fine before that. So I think
everything looked to be in shape, yeah.
I think I'm probably a little bit more interested in Paul Casey in like the next 2 events, the WGC and the Major, but I might grab a piece of him here as well in my lineups or something, because if his ownership doesn't really creep up much, then there's no. Again, I'm not discounting him just for that one screw up.
Yeah, and we got DJ obviously coming in basically last place, shooting 2 scores in the 80s, it seemed like, and now is the favorite, as he should be. He should be the favorite. But are you more inclined to go to him over Brooks Kepcke? Are you done with Kepcke for a little while now?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the knee thing, he looked fine, and then the knee thing comes out, and then he just bombs out Sunday. I'm surprised he's in the field. Maybe we'll get no more news on it from him later in the week, and maybe he's just like doing a rope-a-dope here, and it's not that big a deal. But I'm not going to pay up for him. I would rather just pay up for Finau in that spot personally. I know Finau's price jump, but if Finau's price jump is going to keep him down a little bit, Tony is obviously not quite there, but he's getting really close, and I think he's a lot closer than Brooks right now. So obviously Brooks is still the better player long term, but with health issues, with whatever Brooks is going through, I think Finau is a better option up there for me at the moment.
So no worries about the hangover from last week, just not being able to get it done yet again, and just not coming through. Kind of ended up with a really bad start with how good he played.
Yeah, and again, I think Finau suffered a little bit maybe from not having played the course last week, just coming into a course like that got so firm. I think that probably messed with him a little bit. Obviously, I think people are going to look at his putting and be like, oh, he gained it all putting and he can't do that again. But Finau has, again, he's transformed some parts of his game. I actually really like him this week. Again, I'm not expecting 6 strokes gained putting, but I think that he'll take that and be able to put together just a little bit more consistency tee to green. I mean, he's the type of player last year we saw have a lot of success, guys who just kind of bombed it. And I think you just find a little bit more consistency with his irons. He should be fine here. So
I know this is Puerto Rico max because it's not light, because it's a better field than Puerto Rico, but it's the only tournament he's won. So if he wins this, I mean, this would erase the curse, right? I know it's kind of a Puerto Rico open field, but this would erase the curse, right?
I mean, I would consider, I don't even really consider it a curse, but it would definitely erase it for me.
I mean, he's just been so close so many times. It's going to come, and it was just brought up in our chat. It's going to come, whether it's the Puerto Rico Open again or another tournament.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't have to see Tony Finau in the PRO anytime soon. Great personality. He's a really well-spoken guy, and even though he played terrible, he still took it in heart. He never got mad out there. We never saw him slam a club. We never saw him swear. He's actually just a real class act on the golf course, so I certainly appreciate that, because we know, like my favorite golfer, Spieth, we know he's not a class act when he's getting pissed. We saw Romp really not do it. So I appreciate that about Tony Finau. As we move down into the mid-range here, we've got perennial guys that are priced 7,000 and below here now in the 8,000 range. Sam Burns, Doc Redman, Luke List, we have gotten them at 6,800 every single week since the return. Now we got to pay 8,700 for them. Henrik Norlander, same exact thing. What do you make of that? I mean, Max Homa, Brian Harman, actually, same thing. All those guys are 8K and above. It makes it really feel like it's the Puerto Rico Open, but we're playing for $1 million.
I mean, at the start of the year, if you told me we're going to have an event with like Todd and Todd's not in the field anymore, with like List and Norlander in the mid 8K range, I would like, is are we doing like DFS Corn Ferry Tour now or something, right?
So, I'm in. By the way, I'm in. Yeah, sure.
I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. But I would not expect Henrik Norlander to be at this price ever this year. So bit of a surprise. Dude is playing good though. I mean, approaches and he's kind of putting as well too. So I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about Norlander. I think if I'm going to go with him or List, I'd probably go Norlander just because his approaches and putting is so much better. I don't know if I want to trust Luke List to win a bit of a shootout with his putter, but I think both of them are at least interesting more from a GPP side to mix in. I don't think I'd go super overweight. Again, obviously I like Burns. I think he's probably of the three players in that range. And you want to include Redmond. Redmond and Burns are probably more, better golfers long-term, but Norlander is really, really playing well right now. And so I don't know if you just want to, I just don't want to necessarily just fade him because he's maybe out of his class, with guys like even with Van Ruin up there. But yeah, it's a really interesting category, to be honest, of like five golfers.
He reminds me of Jason Kokrak last year, coming kind of out of nowhere, and his tee to green game all of a sudden just went crazy, right? Went crazy good. Jason Kokrak withdrew this week, as I mentioned before. And Ben on my Wednesday night show, we faded him. We just faded him through the entire thing. We didn't play him once, and he kept on beating us.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm doing that with Norlander, and I don't know if I want to change that or not, but it feels eerily similar to how Kokrak went through it, and now Norlander's going through it. We saw the regression with Kokrak, but we didn't see the regression for a while, though, right? I mean, it took Kokrak a while to come back to earth.
It reminds me of like Rory Sabatini last year too.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, this dude's old, like he's going to regress. And it's just like the whole year he made cuts. And it's an exact same situation with Kokrak. So that's the perfect analogy with Norlander right now.
As we move down, 70K range, we've got some guys like Johnny Vegas, Will Gordon, who I mentioned before, Scott Stallings, Alex Noren, Kyle Stanley, Bernd Wiesberger. Some of these guys I think have been priced there before. Anybody stick out to you quickly as we got, a couple of minutes left?
This range, I think, Fratelli stuck out to me at 7,600. Definitely like that price. He's been playing pretty well. Obviously, with the COVID thing, he had to play on his own. We talked about Will Gordon. I might look to Ortiz, but I think really in this range, it's kind of Fratelli and then I'm going down a little bit. Like there's no one I'm super high on. I don't really want to play Sepp Straka. He's so wildly inconsistent. He's really good when he's on, but when he's off, you're done. So
I'll give you one more name from this at flat 7K. Shot 2 over in round 1 and then was going well in round 2 and then totally fell apart. Matthias Schwab over from Europe, really quality player. He went to Vanderbilt. He's 7K flat, and I think it's a lot to do with the miscut last week, but because it was his first event, I actually like him a lot this week at 7K. I think it's a reasonable price.
Yeah, I really like Matthias Schwab just as a player. I mean, he's really good. If you're not that familiar with him, he could definitely pop up at some point. And again, he's probably going through a little bit of acclimatization to the PGA and just playing with these guys. Again, this probably wouldn't be like the event I'd want to take him at, but he's good enough. He could just start popping off. I mean, we mentioned a bunch of Euro names. He might be right up there talent-wise with the guy like Fitzpatrick. So, just long-term, something to consider. And I definitely consider him in this range as well. I mean, I don't mind going up to Wise and giving him one more shot at 72. And I kind of like Tom Lewis, actually, another Euro at 72 as well. But Schwab is definitely going to be like in that kind of mix for me in this range.
Bernd Wiesberger, another one at 7,200. A couple of Euro guys that way as well. So, all right, we will end it off. It's just about 3 o'clock. We'll end it off with a couple of bombs below 7K. The one that I already mentioned, 6,500 Thagala. I'm ready to lose some money on him this week. This will be the last week, or maybe it'll be the only one. I haven't played him yet. I played him in a small lineup a couple of weeks ago. I'm ready to lose some money on this week on this guy, and it'll be the only time. I'm not going to fall into a trap like I did with Norman Jong a couple of years ago. I'll play him once. If he works for me, great. I'll keep with him. But he's my bomb for the week right now. How about you?
I mentioned Cam Davis. I'm gonna bring up another bomber though. I'm gonna bring up Brandon Hagee, who's been he's shown some pretty good prowess on the greens lately too. He's really talented. He had a bit of injury issues earlier in his career, but this should be like a really good setup for a guy like Hagee. Obviously he's gonna get it out there. He's gonna be able to reach these greens. So even if he hits the water a couple times, like he could make it up by getting a couple eagles in a round or something. So I do kind of like Hagee at 6,700.
I think that's a great call. Well, Geoff, thank you so much for joining today. It's been a great preview show, the PGA DFS First Look show for the 3M Open. And of course, you can find all of Geoff's work through his Twitter at The Fantasy Grind. Check him out there. And of course, me at DFS Golfer 23. So until next time, everybody, thank you for joining, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers.